So George, I think one of the things that people tend to find really interesting in these is just hearing a little bit about people's career journeys. You've had an exceptional 35-year career. I enjoy saying it's 35 since mine's only about 25. But you've had an exceptional career, and I'd love if you could just tell us a little bit about that, including at some point your decision in 2009 to move to City National Bank of Florida. But maybe tell us a little bit, how did your career unfold? How did you get here? And what were some of the pivotal choices you made in that journey?
Well, first of all, good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I'm really honored to answer some questions. So, listen, I am native. I am a native Miamian. I've been here for almost 60 years, born and raised in Miami, and haven't really strayed too far from the city. I love the city of Miami. I love everything about it, and I think we're all fortunate to call this home. As far as my career, I never really intended to be in banking. That was more of a coincidence than anything else. I had this idea that I was going to be an attorney, and we were talking earlier that my junior year at FIU, I was a finance and international business major, and my finance professor talked me into an internship for a German bank on Brickell. And I said, I don't want to do an internship. I'm going to be an attorney. I don't really need to go work in the bank. And he said, just go work in the bank, and it'll help you. And what I quickly realized was that I really didn't know what it meant to be an attorney, because I got to work with attorneys during the internship, and I realized that what they did was nothing close to what I wanted to do. But I didn't know that because I had never been exposed to other than the concept of being an attorney, in terms of what you see on TV or what you read about. And number two, I didn't really know what it meant to be a banker. So those things kind of, I was exposed to two careers, one of which I started to like, one of which I started to not like, and it really changed my trajectory. So I decided after I graduated I was going to go work in a management training program for Southeast Bank, which back then had one of the better training programs in town. And I was going to do that for 18 months, and then I was going to go to law school after that. Well, 35 years later, here I am in banking. And I really, as I think back about my career, there's a couple things that I really attribute 3 decades of banking to. Number one was that moment. Number two, I hit banking at the right time. In other words, banking for a long time had been a very slow-moving career. Bankers were very comfortable spending 20, 30, 40 years in a job, but the job was not fast-paced. But back in 1988, 89, 90, deregulation started to hit banking. So the career path, the industry really started to open up, and they needed people with different DNA, different skill sets, different perspective on business. So timing was an important element of that. I think the other thing that was super important is I was very fortunate to always have good mentors. I always chose my jobs, not just by the job itself or the institution, but by who I was going to be working with. And I look back and I look at what we do today in terms of City National, and I think having the right mentors in life is absolutely mission critical to success. Surrounding yourself with really good people who care about you, who want to see you succeed, who are willing to put forth time and effort into your career path is a game changer. So when I'm trying to help provide feedback to our younger employees, I always try to make sure that they're lined up with people that have common personalities and people who want to help younger folks, because I think it made such a big difference in my life and my career, and I think it's a catalyst for success. And I think the other thing too is when I look at the last 35 years, it's never, nobody's life is, perfect, right? You got ups and downs. And whether it's by luck or just by persistence, every time there was a down moment, it turned out to be a silver lining. But in the moment, I didn't know that. I thought it was the end of the world. There was something negative that had happened. But when I was in that situation, I always tried to make the best of it and turn it into a positive moment. And as I look back, there was 3 or 4 pivotal things that happened that were negative in the moment, but when I look back, they were actually positive, but you didn't know that in the situation. So those are some things that I can really think about that were game changers in the last 35 years. And but surrounding yourself with the right people who care, who you aspire to be like for some reason or another, I think are really important attributes to people's philosophy and how they navigate a career.